Hey there, foster friends and family. I'm Charles, and you're listening to the Foster Dad Directive podcast, where we're going to explore the foster care system and my experience with it. In this episode, we'll be talking about our fifth placement and a little bit of information about what we've dealt with around them and stuff that's coming up because we're still kind of in the throes of things for this. As always, please remember that I'm not a trained professional. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the host or hosts, if I ever get a second one, and in the future guests, and do not constitute professional advice unless otherwise stated by said guest. Please ensure that you seek adequate and effective legal counsel to best protect yourself in this ever-changing system. So, little few updates. Going forward, I think I'm going to stick to single topics for all the episodes. That way it's easier to find. Say we go over CPS reports. It's kind of easier if the title is like CPS reports. That way you're not trying to flip through, say, 45-minute podcast about 12 different topics. That way you go to one, I go over CPS reports, talk about them, kind of go through things that we've gone through. You're able to find that instead of trying to go through that plus 11 other topics. We also have two interviews in the process of being put together. One is going to be my friend who's a therapist. She's going through the loss of a pet, though, so I'm giving her time to grieve and definitely don't want to take advantage of that and give her time to honestly go through all that, the entire grieving process. Early in our fostering, I definitely went through it with two of my pets, so I completely understand. I know she'd be invaluable for explaining a lot of things, especially between therapy, the LGBTQ community, everything like that, and is definitely an amazing person. So, and we also had a Dr. Becky Owens reach out to us about the reset method and her book that recently came out. So I definitely want to go over that and talk to her, kind of get some of her insight on this because she was a foster parent. She's also got a few other things going on. She is a parent, so she's got a lot of insight that she could definitely share. I'm going to grab that book, make sure that I get that. I'm going to go over that. I'm going to go over the reset method as a whole, get some good notes so we're not just kind of essentially wasting her time. I want to make sure that she comes on here, gets a nice welcome, gets the respect that she deserves, and gets to go into that. And I make a conscious effort to actually be a good host and get one of my first interviewees the welcoming that she deserves. I'll also probably be doing, my plan right now is Monday episodes, probably like 9 a.m., have them release, and then I want to do occasional family updates, maybe do like a midweek one, depending on if anything new comes up, kind of give a little insight, things like that, just in case, because if you've ever fostered, you kind of know it's always a changing environment. I mean, even last night we got a call about potentially taking in a 14-year-old, so it's just one of those things where the time wasn't right and my wife missed a call, so it's just one of those things. We're trying to get everything situated with the two boys and kind of navigate this real quick and kind of get this taken care of before we go diving back into teens, if that's even going to be a possibility in the future. It might just be younger ones. We kind of haven't talked about it. We just gotta kind of get our bearings after the last 2.5 years and the chaos we've gone through. So today we're going to be talking about the brothers. Out of the order, they're our fifth placement out of six. There was one after them that didn't work out for very long. We'll catch up on the others later. None of those are really evolving situations. They're kind of closed, shut cases of stuff we went through. So while I want to go over them, I also want to make sure we talk about the boys. I'll talk about the older one as the kid, and then the younger one is the toddler. I'll leave ages out of it and everything, so just know they're both under 10, and that's kind of their age range. Uh, Everything that follows has been reported to either the agency or their GAL, which is Guardian Ad Litem, in some manner, generally via email, text, which seems to be ignored. We've had some in-person conversations, but we kind of try to keep a little bit of uh, what do you trail, like a paper trail. Sorry, and so we kind of want to make sure, and I suggest it to everybody. Make sure you text it, email it, and also say it in person, because if you say it in person, it's word of person A versus word of person B. So, like I texted about the toddler's car seat being unbuckled. He ended up turning around and looking at me in the truck. And that was supposed to be not the situation because the agency told us we normally let the guardians put their kids in the car. So if you ever run into that situation, make sure you double check. It's not even to be a rude or respect thing. It's kind of your butt on the line. If anything happens, if you get on the highway and an accident happens and that kid's not buckled in, it's kind of your butt. So ensure you're double checking no matter what. So for taking the boys in, it was about a year ago. No, a little bit over a year ago. It was late one night, I think about 11 p.m. or so. I was working at the factory, got a call, and she specifically said that she called us because she knew I worked third, so she knew that I would be up. And so we ended up taking in the boys. It was one of those things where Cassie was asleep. She has to be up early. She works as a teacher. She had to go get the kid from the ER. No clothes. Walmarts and Myers aren't 24/7 anymore, so there was really nothing that she could do clothing wise. We kind of took these kids in with nothing. We wouldn't even get the toddler for at least a week still. He was in the hospital, so. And I kind of want to look into it, like how the agencies go about it. I always heard it was a cycle, like where one agency would be tasked with taking the child in, getting them a foster family, and then it'd cycle to like the next one. But then I was looking and kind of doing a little bit of research, and it said a bunch of things that there's a bunch of different factors that go into it. So I'm kind of curious about all that. I want to look into it and find more information. I mean, there's tons of episodes. I'm not really concerned about episodes and getting out like a bunch and kind of just doing a dump truck worth of episodes all at once, just because I know there's so much to go over. I mean, we've had 6 placements alone, getting licensed as a foster care family, all of that. There's so much to go over, and honestly, so much that I want to cover to just give resources to people and kind of give it what we've been through. So if you're a prospective foster family and you want to know what you're about to go through, I kind of want to let you know, and that way you're not walking into it as blindly as we did. We did not figure it would be easy because Cassie's one of her best friends worked at one of the other agencies, so we kind of know what was going on, but we were definitely not prepared for exactly what we went through. And then the toddler, like I said, he came to us a little bit after the kid did. He ended up, we got everything for the boys. We either had to buy it. We got tons of donations from friends and family, like overwhelming. Like friends I haven't seen in years came through and helped us out. Were super great to us. Like my buddy Sam from when I was like in high school. We haven't seen each other in years. Came through and gave me a bunch of stuff. So like we were super blessed on that. We had a lot of ordering to do. Tons of appointments that came up. The baby was in the hospital. Like there was one day where it was pretty much from the time the hospital opened until the time the hospital closed. Cassie went in there with him. I came, relieved her, finished out the appointment, came back, kind of got the baby down for a nap, took a short nap, and then had to try to carry on through the day and then go to work the next night. So it's definitely not for the faint of heart, especially these early intakes. We've gotten a lot where the kids have already been in the system, so there wasn't a whole lot of that. They were already up to speed on everything. So this one was kind of a test of our grit, really, and getting all this. We were constantly buying like new toys and resources to get the kids up to speed, books, everything, especially as the toddler went through all the hospital courses and stuff. We'd have to buy him different like toys. Like if you have a kid, you know, the mind sharpening toys and the kind of getting the motor skills refined, all of that. Essentially, as we went to appointments, I'd find one, bam, it'd be I'd see this toy. As we were in the meeting, I'd be on Amazon finding that toy, getting that shipped here, making sure that we could work with like the toddler's motor skills were so delayed. So it was constantly a lot of making sure that I could get him stuff to get him back up to speed, which was one of the first issues we had with their GAL. She ended up reporting us to the agency for Clutter. Was our house cluttered? Yeah. Camping season had come to an end, so we were emptying out the camper. We also were ordering stuff. Shipments every day from Amazon, at least. New toys, clothes, bedding, everything you can think of for getting two children under 10. Everything they need when they come to you with nothing but clothes or a hospital gown. So there's going to be clutter, but you end up reporting us. It's so urgent that you need to feel the need to report us, but not urgent enough to where it can take 45 days, because it took over 45 days for that report to get finalized. So it was apparently an issue and you couldn't bring it up to us at that point. That made me so mad. Why would you report it and not talk to us? And we have early on in here, which she's through the state. She's a state employee and is a mandated reporter. Oh my gosh, I apologize. Cassie's one too, because any like teaching staff, stuff like that, we'll go for mandated reporters. I apologize if there's any pauses like that. Sometimes my brain doesn't want to keep up with everything. So, but she's a mandated reporter. She's never said anything to us. She told us like if he's playing under a table, don't protect his head. Like don't baby him, and because if he doesn't like bonk his head, he's not gonna figure out. Hey, if I'm playing under a table, I have to duck to make sure that I get through here. So she ended up reporting us for this. There was like pet food out of the bowl because the dogs are fed. So apparently food being out of the bowl was a bad thing. And a pet smell because we have a cat upstairs. So in 2.5 years, we've never had an issue besides with her. Weird. I guess she's supposed to be looking out. A guardian ad litem is looking out for the boys' best interest, which we'll get into that more later. It's the boys' best interest, but she seems very biased against us because we are not bio family, which is my own personal feelings. When we first got the kids, the kid could not read. He was split between second grade and kindergarten to catch up. I mean, the schools here in Kentwood, the school was absolutely amazing. The teachers were awesome. They were absolutely amazing. They did so much with him. They worked so hard to be accommodating, get him in there, work with him to get caught up and understand he was going through a turmoilous time, that he was going through a lot. I mean, nothing bad can be said about the school. Honestly, those teachers went above and beyond. Signing up for resources, I mean, the agency offered to help, but they really never did, besides getting the kid into school. They helped with that. They talked about helping with WIC. They didn't help with daycare. Most of the appointments, I mean, they got him started, but after that, it was all on us. We kept track of them. They were so far behind on everything. We didn't end up getting any shots. Never give shots to any kid unless you have like signed written consent from the agency, because they have to go through the guardian, everything like that. We'd get accused later by a social worker of giving them shots when we weren't supposed to, even though we have text messages and contact through the agency that specifically said, oh yeah, you're good. Go ahead and give them to them. We've gotten authorization from their guardian. So, like, honestly, it was probably that the agency workers didn't actually do their job and submit those documents. That has been a recurring issue, especially with these two boys. Their worker is absolutely horrendous at turning in anything. He will text me or Cassie and be like, hey, when is this appointment? I will go through my search function on my phone and be able to find exactly when I told him that. So all he had to do was take 5 seconds. It would have taken him less time to search for one word in the phrase he sent us to find that information. So that's been absolutely frustrating and mind-boggling, to say the least. There was a spring break incident. The toddler was sent for over a week with a family member. He didn't know. I mean, even with Zoom and Snapchat and all these different services where you can call and talk to family members virtually, a toddler's not going to know somebody just from being on like the phone with them and kind of seeing them on the phone, especially not super young. So the agency thought, well, even before that, they were going to send them over to another family member across state for a weekend, when neither of the kids had even met the family members, literally just because they were authorized. Cassie had to push back against it because Neither of the boys had even met this family member, and they were already trying to send the boys over there to stay with them for a weekend, which is absolutely insane. But one of the things that the kid told us, that the toddler had co-slept with family members, which is a huge no-no for a kid that young. And then once he had gotten down there, that he didn't have a bed for the first few days. He actually slept on the couch. And granted, this is all just something that we were told by the kid, but honestly, out of all the people in my life, I would trust that kid so much. He never really lied. In the few instances that he did lie, if you're like, "Are you lying?" He'd fess up to it. So anything we've ever been told that he's said or something is either like I feel misconstrued, or just he's being fed a line essentially. During the visit, the family member told the agency that the toddler cried all the way down there so that they'd pay for a plane ticket to get them back. When she actually told Cassie, and the kid kind of collaborated this, that the toddler didn't do anything. He was fine on the way down. He's normally just sits in his car seat and plays. You give him like a snack, like a small snack that he's not going to choke on or something like that. He babbles on to himself. He'll talk. He will talk. Him and both of the boys, I love them to death, but they are definitely talkers. I'm an introvert most of the time. This podcast is probably the most extroverted thing I've ever done. Those boys, just my battery is drained, and it's not a bad thing. I love them both so much, but they are definitely talkers. So the baby crying all the way down there is not really believable. Then upon returning, Cassie actually met the family members at a hotel, where they ended up leaving the toddler and the kid alone in the hotel room while they were down meeting with Cassie. So they left 2 children under 10 alone in a hotel room. If we had done that, I can guarantee our licenses would have been revoked, if not facing like legal charges. We reported this to the agency and nothing happened. It is the most frustrating thing in the world. I hate it so much that there's this huge double standard. Like I've mentioned that to the agency numerous times about how much I hate that. I feels like we're being held up to a standard that other people aren't. Just because they're family members doesn't mean that they automatically have the best interests in the child, especially with things that the kid has told us. So we had another incident later on. It was July 30th. It was actually our anniversary and Cassie's birthday. We completely forgot about the phone call with the family member. Honestly, that is on us. We were out to dinner. We ended up taking the 3 boys out to Olive Garden so that they could, we could have dinner, everything like that. The kid actually never brought up the phone call. I guess the week prior, I didn't know about it, but I'm actually going to cut that part out. So the family member ended up getting upset with him on the phone and kind of being a little bit ruder to him. So he kind of was super upset the next day when he actually did take the phone call about not wanting to do it. But instead of her texting us that night about, hey, where are the boys at? What's going on? She ended up rather texting us the next morning and being like, hey, why didn't we have our phone call yesterday? And then text the agency about not having the phone call. You're so upset that the phone call didn't happen, but you waited till the next day to bring it up. You didn't think maybe check on the boys at all? So, I mean, honestly, that's super frustrating too. It's almost been apparent that she's been doing that, especially with some of the stuff we've been experiencing with their GAL. It almost feels like they're in cahoots, and the GAL is working against us just because we aren't blood related, which is absolutely frustrating to me. I get that we're not blood related, but doesn't mean we don't care about the boys. They've been with us for a year. So actually all of this kind of brings us to the event of rights being terminated. So the goal of foster care generally is to reunification, that are getting placed with family and stuff like that. So, I mean, we were getting towards the end of the case. We were looking at rights potentially being terminated, so we requested a foster care review board because They just up and gave us 14 days notice that they were moving the kid to another state, completely separating us from his brother, like I said in the last podcast. They didn't give us any information. Even the dad of the kid or the toddler, told the kid that he's moving to Texas when he gets custody. We've asked constantly that the agency talk to the family and restrict this. We've had issues with the other family member promising like visits, that she was going to come from out of state, everything like that, come take him for like a week, stay with him for a weekend. None of it ever happened, and it always took a toll on the kid. He'd always get upset because the weekend that they were supposed to come stay, it never happened. So we've begged them to stop all this, and they don't listen. They do not put their foot down, and I don't know why. If we promise anything, we'd be held responsible for it. But the one dad offered the kid a Switch. That was over a year ago. The kid talked about it almost every day for a year. I had to hear constantly what was going to happen when he got a Switch. So, unfortunately, he never ended up getting it, but that's why we've asked and tried to put our foot down, and it almost feels like the agency just doesn't do it because they're family. But it also is absolutely confusing because it's detrimental to the kid's health. So after the move, about a week later, we ended up getting a complaint from the GAL stating that we told the kid he was moving before he was notified, but we specifically have text message evidence that Cassie texted the foster care worker the night prior to him being told by the agency, begging them to not tell him that he was moving until we found out what was going to happen with the foster care review board. But the GAL said that we told him earlier that he was moving. So how does that make any sense? It means she did absolutely nothing. She did no due diligence trying to check out or find evidence on if this was a actual thing. She just went with it. So that's why it feels a lot like they're in cahoots, essentially. I know that's kind of a weird term, but almost like blatant discrimination and harassment. She's going to keep reporting us for stuff that she has no evidence about. We have legitimate text message evidence stating the complete opposite of what you were saying. Thankfully, the new foster care licensing worker we got seems like an amazing person. She is probably one of the few people who have ever asked if we're doing all right, because we were talking about the kid leaving and if like we were doing all right. And I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, we saw it coming, especially for this one, so it was a little bit kind of easier to take on the chin than some of the other ones, but we've never been asked. Like, rarely. From my knowledge, I don't remember being asked at all or offered any services. They've never offered us, like, therapy services, you know. Most of the kids we've had have been 6 months plus, over a year, and then that just kind of falls through, and then we're never really offered services. So, I mean, that boggles my mind as well. So, let me take a quick second to make sure we're back where we were. And on the topic with the GAL and that apparent promise we made, we've asked and have text message evidence, email evidence of asking that family members stop making promises. The family member he went to live with early on in the placement told him that he was going to come live with her. Cassie told her that, also told her a bunch of other stuff about potentially that family member knowing about stuff that kind of rolled into the whole incident and them entering foster care. We have emails of it to the GAL, completely ignored us. It feels like she's just discriminating against us and not taking our concerns and everything seriously. It's not like we're trying to keep the boys away from family. We wanted to be considered for adoption because we know that not every placement with family goes positively. The second kid we got, which was supposed to be the first one, was supposed to be an adoption. Her and her brother were up for adoption, and we like connected with the brothers' foster family, got to know them. Cassie's still in contact with them. They ended up getting two twin boys. The twin boys ended up bouncing around between family members. Granted, this couple, the boys I think were about 7, and this couple was nearing retirement age. Said, "Oh, we're not gonna take them. They love the boys and everything, but they just said they weren't ready for them." Apparently, the boys bounced around numerous different family members, and none of them were up to the task of taking them. So it ended up moving to where this foster family ended up nearing retirement age adopting these two boys, because we don't live in a fantasy world. This isn't some loving Disney movie that we're in. This is real life, and the family member that took it, the kid, doesn't realize all the things he's been through. We've reported so much to the agency that he said or did that's not bad, but it's concerning, that he needs therapy for different things, and they just completely ignore us. So we want to be considered for adoption just in case that stuff falls through, so he's not another one of these kids that just gets flung right back into the system, especially if he's in another state now and gets thrown into that foster care system, separated from his sibling. I mean, I couldn't even imagine the trauma that would cause, the absolute nightmare that would be for a kid to be drugged to another state and then flung into another foster care system if things don't work out. So that's been frustrating. Honestly, I want to thank everybody, especially all my family that's been super supportive. I do appreciate all of you and giving me all the feedback, supporting me through all this. It has been a step out of my comfort zone, and there's just been, honestly, I've waited a little too long to record this one. I was hoping to get it done sooner, but this week has been chaotic between toddler and his visits and everything else. Most days were like 3-4 hours of sleep between housework and everything else. So getting this one recorded, but I will also be recording another one about the foster care review board, and both of these episodes should be released on Monday. We have our foster care review board on Tuesday, so I'm sure I'll be doing a midweek update and kind of letting all of you know how that went and giving everyone an update on that. So if this all seems like something you're still interested in, please like, subscribe, share. Email fosterdaddirective@gmail.com with any feedback, ideas, stories, anything like that. I appreciate you all for taking the time to listen to this. It's hard for me to listen to my own voice, so I try not to listen through the episodes. My brother's actually been a trooper and going to help me out with them, so I'm going to record some episodes, send them over to him, and get some feedback on them. So I thank you all so much. Hopefully all remains quiet on the foster front for you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I appreciate you so much. Bye.